I'm going to share 5 essential conversations you and your spouse should have as you plan for retirement. And they're not all financial. Hi, I'm Scott. I was a college professor for many years, and now I teach couples like you close to retirement how to clarify your goals, master your money, and gain confidence as you enter the next phase of your life. So here are 5 conversations that you should have with your spouse as you plan for retirement. Number 1, get a hold of your numbers. And what I mean by that is your living expenses and your future income. Do you have a pretty good handle right now on how much you spend each month on utilities, gas, mortgage, groceries, entertainment? All of things will be important because the more clarity that you have now, the better you'll be able to project into the future. Now, most people discover that their expenses decline a little bit those first few years of retirement, but you may vary. What about your sources of income? Hopefully you've got some Social Security coming your way. Do you have any other sources? Pensions, rental income, otherwise your savings. So get these down on paper, talk it over with each other, and just get a better flavor and understanding now so that as you start to project into the future, that will start to make more sense. Number 2, healthcare. Now, if you're going to plan on retiring before age 65, you're going to have probably some kind of plan to have health insurance other than Medicare, which starts at 65. So maybe you're lucky and your employer has some kind of continuation of your health care. Maybe you work for a government organization that has some nice plan that you'll be able to rely on until Medicare. But when you get to age 65, you're going to have to make a decision between Medicare, Medicare Advantage, and a Medicare supplement. So become educated on that. There's lots of competing information out there. I like to go to a site called boomerbenefits.com. They're an independent insurance broker that helps customers decide between the various insurance options. So even if you don't want to use them as a broker, they've got some pretty good information you might want to go check out. Now, in addition to healthcare, also need to start thinking about long-term care. So whether long-term care insurance makes sense, you could reach out to a broker about that, but just give some thought to, if one of you were to become incapacitated or have some kind of dementia, what are your plans for this? Are you going to live in place? Are one of you going to provide support for the other? Do you plan on bringing somebody in? Talk it over with your spouse on your family history. What about your parents? What happened towards the end of their life if they're no longer alive? So, important conversations about healthcare as well as long-term care. Number 3 is Social Security. Now, there's a lot of interesting strategies that you could possibly use as a couple. In fact, I made an entire video that I will link to up here. But it really comes down to the most common recommendation that advisors make is that the person with the higher benefits of the two should wait as long as possible, at least age 67, full retirement age, if not age 70. Why is that? Well, because you're not only planning on your life expectancy, if you are indeed the one with the highest benefits, but you're planning for your spouse's benefits as well. So let's suppose you are the one with the highest benefits and you die in your mid-70s. Well, your spouse might indeed use your benefits then for the next 10, 15, 20 years. So you want that number to be as high as possible because when you or your spouse dies first, you lose the lower of the 2 benefits. Give some thought to, are you going to both start Social Security at the same time? Are you going to delay? What will your strategies be? Number 4, legal documents, estate planning. So yes, it's important to have wills and trusts, and maybe you haven't updated yours, but more importantly than that is what happens if you become incapacitated? What if you get Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, and you've got some decisions that you can no longer make? It's really important that you give those decisions or those rights to your partner through a healthcare power of attorney and a legal power of attorney. You want to make sure that you also have what's called a letter of instruction. Now, this is not a legal document, but it's a really loving gesture for your potential survivor on little things like, what is the password for your email? What are the access to your various retirement accounts, your banking accounts? If either of you have a part-time job, What's going to be necessary to wind that down, both legally and in tax consequences? A lot of these things that we just really haven't made public to each other, that we're just sort of living our own lives perhaps, but anything that you can put down into this document will make it so much easier if you were to die prematurely or unexpectedly on your spouse. And the fifth and probably most important conversation is, what is your shared vision of what retirement is going to look like? Yeah, you've got to talk about what ages you want to stop working or transitioning towards retirement, but what are you going to do when you get there? Where is it going to be? Do both of you want to move or stay in place? Do one of you want to get an RV to travel around the country for 2 or 3 months at a time? What are you going to do with your time? One of my favorite stories, husband and wife getting close to retirement. The wife turns to the husband and says, "I love you, but only for 3 hours per day. You're going to have to find something to do to keep yourself busy out of the house." Well, that's true. So many of us, when we're working, not only is our social network tied up in who we work with and who we interact with each and every day, but a lot of our self-worth and our purpose is sometimes tied up with what we do as well. So you need to anticipate that, plan ahead to say, when I have more time on my hands, what will I be doing? What will my spouse be doing? What will we be doing together? So being on that same page is probably the most important of these 5 conversations. So there you have 5 important conversations that you should have with your spouse as you start to plan for retirement. Now, I create these videos to help you to clarify your goals, minimize taxes during retirement, avoid costly mistakes, how to manage your finances on your own, and most importantly, how to gain confidence as you enter your next chapter. I work with clients to create custom retirement plans that include actions that you can perform now so that you can thrive in retirement. Now, unlike most financial planners, I charge a flat fee with no ongoing commitment. So check the link down below, learn more about me and my approach to retirement planning, and possibly schedule a free introductory call.